Koi qeylIS puqloD, koi puqbe'pu, yakba makba jejuvi, saimak tumayo.
Well,
Hello and welcome to First Contact with my Chancellor, your Chancellor, everybody's Chancellor, J.G. Hertzler. We are your hosts, Davan and my Daves.
Hello.
And,
How are you?
Davan,
Meet you.
David, and Dave. There's 3 Daves actually there. 3 Daves. Wow. Is there going to be more on this little hoo-ha?
I wouldn't rule it out.
We may have reached the limit of Dave for the moment.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Maybe
well, first off, how are you this
JGs
evening? Thanks for joining us.
Have I mentioned how much I love your LLAP and its Long Living podcast? It's a brilliant. Who came up with that?
That would be
that
me.
Would be Ontario Dave.
Oh, that would be Ontario Dave.
Yes,
well,
thank you.
You seem to be you seem to be the youngest. Dave's job available.
He'll take it.
Well, good.
I'm actually his younger cousin.
Well, I wanted to admit, because Davan is my second cousin. For I was born in Nova Scotia, but have since left. But I did want to mention to you, JG, is that or is it John, or do we?
It's just sir,
Mr. Hertzler, if you will,
or
Chancellor,
or may I speak to the man who can get me to speak with JG, but never go directly to me with the JG. Just go to one of my people. Where are my? Oh, they're out. They're out right now.
Would you like me to play intermediary on that?
No.
Okay.
Not with a name like Davan.
Don't worry, I've had relatives who never got it right, so there's really no pressure at all.
My family's still trying to get it right.
Isn't there a Davenport? Isn't there a...
Yeah, it's like that. It's
yeah.
exactly like that. That's how I explain it to people.
Oh, okay.
It has a silent port on the end.
It does have a silent port.
Davenport. I love that name.
Mr. Hertzler, I wanted to mention to you that you and I share the same birthday,
March
18th.
Wow. I'm just maybe a year or two before.
I think only one, or so. And, we share this day with some, other famous people like Queen Latifah and Vanessa Williams and the voice of Chucky and a couple
Brad
others.
Dourif. Do you know Brad Dourif?
Oh, right on.
March 18th. Absolutely.
Right. A couple other.
Exactly my birthday. March 18, 1950. We were born the same day, and for all this time, I've said, you know what? I really want to get in touch with Brad Dourif and talk about what he's seen in his lifetime, which is exactly the amount of time that I've been.
Interesting.
In fact, I want to have you would be invited to this, David. If what I'd like to do is have a party for everybody that was born on March 18.
That's like a great.
My birthday's 2 days later. Can I come?
No. No, you'd have to do the 17th, or the 14th, the 15th, but 16th. I'm sorry, but you and I, Dave, born the same day. That's a day after St. Patrick's Day.
That's right.
Our moms were drinking heavily on St. Patrick's Day, and it got said, "Hey, Mom, I don't like the taste of alcohol in here. I'm getting out." You know what I mean?
It was how we induced the labor, really. And then I came the next day. It's always a day because I am also Irish or part of Irish heritage.
Oh, wow.
So it's often hungover on my birthday. Celebrate on the 17th.
Oh yeah, I know. Everybody had a great time the night before, and then we have a birthday.
I was like, nah, I feel like I'll just relax today.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to go, but I can't talk or move right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. I've suffered the same way, but it goes on. I mean, next year it'll be the same. So, but maybe it will change in a year.
Yeah. Pisces power. It's all
Pisces power. And you know what else about Pisces? It's always the last thing. It's that last.
We're the last.
Reading the bottom of the page, or else like a couple of pages later, finally they get to Pisces. Who's before us? Mars. No, Mars is after us.
The Aquarius are before us.
Aquarius is before us. They write songs about that. This is the dawning of the age of Pisces. Yeah, I don't think so.
We need a song.
We need a song.
They will sing songs of this day.
Well, Sam, you're not welcome.
Sam's an Aquarius.
Yeah.
Sam's an Aquarius.
Oh yeah.
Can you sing a song? You got a damn song, Sam. So come on, man. Handle it. Sing your song. It's a great tune.
All right, Dave, we're going to write the Pisces song. It has to be done. It has to be us.
We're doing it.
P and I. And then wait a minute, does the C become before the S, or does the S become the C? Oh, never mind.
Before C.
It's all fishy.
Yeah. It's all fishy. The whole thing's fishy, yeah. Smells to high heaven.
Yeah.
So I read that you're a bit of an activist there, JG. And I was wondering if you and James Cromwell were only arrested together the one time.
He's been arrested many times. Cromwell knows what I learned that day in the paddy wagon. They literally put stuff on us and took us in a paddy wagon. You know what a paddy? Wait a minute. If that's a slight against the Irish, isn't it? A paddy wagon. I mean,
structural slight.
The British probably called. They take the paddy.
Put all the paddies in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
trouble.
never thought about it before. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
But the power of words is right there, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah, they put us in the back of that thing. It felt so silly. We were trying to save the people of central New York from having fracking fluid seep into one of the most pristine lakes in North America. And they arrest us for that. But Jaemeel knew every well, I don't know if it's every, but he knew he has a plethora of protest songs from the 60s on. He knows them. And I didn't. All I know is the Fish. Is the country join the Fish? Just go 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me. I don't give a damn. Next stop is Vietnam, and it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Whoa, ain't no time to wonder why. Whee! We're all gonna die. I think that was Country Joe the Fish. He knows it. And I was in here. I was just awed. He's a great guy, and he has protested everything for the last 50 years. That merits protest. And God bless him. Now his home is somewhere here in the eastern part of New York State. I think it's Warren, New York, or Warwick. Maybe it's, now I forget.
That's towards the end with Vermont, like that's that way.
It's down towards. It's down in where New York drops. There's I don't know how to explain it, like a dog leg on the eastern side down to Long Island down there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Warren's in that Warwick or Warren is right in that little area. And I've been to Warwick Castle, by the way, in England. I was doing a con. Some people in a little town called Telford, which is Telford claims to be the home of the Industrial Revolution. And they had the first iron bridge. Anyway, have you been on the iron bridge, Johnny? Oh, no. What is it? He says, it's right over there. You can see it from here if you climb that tree, and then you can see it over those things.
Sounds like directions from
stand on it,
Yeah.
Johnny. You're just gonna stand on it.
Yeah. So yeah, what was I going to say? Then there was something we did go. Oh, I can't remember what I was saying. Why did I bring it? Oh, the industrial.
You were talking about Warwick Castle.
Yeah, Warwick Castle. Oh, there's a picture of the 18th Earl of Warwick, and he looks just like me. I swear to you, if I could know where I put. How many pictures do you have on your computers?
Oh, goodness
Thousands?
Like tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Enough that my Google Drive is constantly angry with me.
Yeah.
Well, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean,
in that iCloud? God.
Oh, the iCloud. Yeah, I have no idea. I can't even get to the iCloud.
I don't even know what it is.
I don't know what it is. Question of the night. What is the iCloud and how can it be seen in October?
Sound off in the comments.
Oh, yeah. There's the 18th Earl of Warwick.
Oh,
look at that.
That's
not the guy?
No, that's not the guy. There's a portrait of him in Warwick Castle.
Oh, okay.
I had a picture taken of me. I don't know if it's the 18th or the 13th.
One of the teenths, though, for sure.
One of the Earls, anyway.
I'm not sure. But it's a side view, and he looks exactly like that, with the beard.
Oh, right.
Exactly the same. And no straw hat and sunglasses. But I was, God, I wish I
What a strange place to run into yourself that way, though, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was
played into it and maybe inherited a castle.
Yeah.
Everything seems so familiar here. You just start saying, and then
yeah, there's my flashlight.
My keys. I was looking for my keys.
My keys, yeah. But that's something right there. There's two things that you can never find when you need them: your keys and a flashlight. I just had the flashlight in my freaking hand like less than a minute ago, and then suddenly it's disappeared. Gremlins.
Yeah.
True. But
True.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
But so yeah, one comment here is that from Heather says she loves that you call James Cromwell Jamie. And maybe could you tell me a little bit about I guess your friendship with him and
we're lovers.
And
he calls me Johnny, and I call him Jamie. And no, that's not true. But it can stay out there in the internet universe and float around.
There now.
Somebody called me up, like Jamie. Everybody knows him as Jamie Cromwell. He's a wonderful actor, and I know him. I met him first, not in Star Trek or anything in television or film. I was doing Lord Capulet in a production of Romeo and Juliet at a theater in Hollywood. What's the name of that place? I can't think of it. The Skylight Theater up on Franklin, up in where it's known as it's on the way to Beechwood Canyon, and Beechwood Canyon is where the famous Hollywood sign is on top of the near the reservoir there. But I was doing a production of Romeo and Juliet, and I was doing Capulet, Lord Capulet. I guess it's Romeo's. No, it's
Juliet's mother.
Juliet's father.
Father, sorry.
Yeah. And I had done it a couple times already, so that was good. But then I got a job I think it was in Minnesota. So I had to leave town, and I was replaced by Jamie Cromwell. Ooh, that's impressive. But we met before I left, and we talked, various things, went through the show and whatnot. And I think he had probably done it before as well. We're both stuck. He was a brilliant prince, Elizabeth's husband, Queen Elizabeth's husband.
Prince Philip.
Prince Philip. Have you seen that? I think it's called The Queen or
The Crown.
The Crown. Is it The Crown?
Oh,
that he
that
plays?
one.
Oh no, he plays Prince Philip. Yeah, I guess no, it wasn't The Crown. It was a movie that he played. That was about when Diana died. Yes, I
Yeah.
know the film you mean. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He was brilliant as Prince Philip. I mean, he's always brilliant. He can do everything. You know, the mother. But,
This story kind of reminds me of when William Shatner and Christopher Plummer, who both played was it Hamlet or was it they both were
Shatner and who?
Shatner and Christopher Plummer.
What would they have done the same?
They did King Lear up here in Canada, in Stratford, Ontario,
Okay.
which is kind of the Shakespeare capital up here.
I did the capital of North America.
And Shatner was his understudy, but Christopher Plummer got sick one night, and and Shatner played King Lear.
He went on as Hamlet.
No, it was King Lear actually. I
think.
think.
Lear.
Yeah, it was King
Lear.
Lear.
That's have you guys ever understudied and gone on?
No.
It is the most terrifying thing you can imagine.
I bet.
Suddenly you get a call. You're going on tonight. What? And you better know it because you haven't had any rehearsal.
Right.
You have. They just assume memorize it while you watch, and that's it. End of story. And it's a great possibility to break into a mate, but it's also terrifying. You remember in Star Trek, the guy who did Tony Call is his name, Anthony Call. He did Ensign Bailey, who had one line, but it's iconic. You know what line I'm talking about in the original Star Trek?
I don't think so. But Ensign Bailey?
Ensign, or I think it's Ensign Bailey. Yeah.
No, I can't recall the line.
He's a helmsman.
Okay.
No, I don't know the line.
They're doing a countdown. You remember that line?
They're doing a countdown. Oh no! Now I need to know what this is.
Oh man!
It's the Corbomite
to the internet.
Huh?
He's gonna check it out.
Maneuver.
The Corbomite maneuver.
The Corbomite maneuver.
Okay.
Right.
It's in that.
Yeah.
And he says, they're doing a countdown. And he starts freaking out and crying.
They're doing a countdown.
Yeah. Bring it up.
You only got one line. Make it work.
I'm working on it. Yeah. What's that?
But he's capitalizing on that line there.
Well, no, he was doing. It just happens to be a connection with Star Trek. We were doing Shakespeare at the Folger Shakespeare Library, the theater in Washington D.C. He was playing Oberon, the dual role of Oberon Theseus in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was doing old Aegeus. This is when I was like 23. Old Aegeus. And but I was understudying Oberon Theseus. I was understudying him. He was not able to do the final 2 weeks of the show because they made an extension because it was, Midsummer Night's Dream always sells out. And so I took over for Tony. And I think that was like 74 or 5. And he had already done. They're doing a countdown.
I got the clip here.
Oh, you got it.
He's doing a countdown.
He's doing a countdown.
I do remember that now, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, that's great.
He's a wonderful, wonderful man. Tony, he had this incredible. He had such great things. He came up with some great stuff. He was married. I think he still is married to Elizabeth Perry, who was the niece, I believe, of Antoinette Perry. Antoinette, and for which the Tony Awards in New York is named for her.
Oh,
Antoinette
wow.
Tony.
I didn't know Tony was short for Antoinette.
Yeah, well, it
In
wasn't
the
that
Tony
case.
Awards.
But Elizabeth Perry, look up her last name, Antoinette Perry. Anyway, what was I saying? Something about. Well, anyway, I called him a couple of years ago before the pandemic, and I said, Tony, have you ever done a convention? Because we hadn't talked in 40 years, you know. And he said, "Who is this?" I said, "No." I said, "Have you ever done a convention?" He said, "No." I said, "Would you want to?" Because I think it would be a major hoot for Star Trek fans to meet Ensign Bailey. And he said, "Sure." But then the pandemic happened and years passed, and he said, "You know, I don't think I can get up for a convention now, John. You better just count me out." And now that I'm 73, I don't feel like doing them either. I mean, you have to fly, usually someplace, stay in a place you don't know, never get to sleep because it's almost impossible to sleep in, you know, hotel rooms immediately for me. And I love meeting the people, meeting the fans and the other vendors and the other actors. You know, it was a great. Bob and I have had a tremendous fun. Bob O'Reilly, Galron, have had a tremendous time doing dueling chancellors. And see, I remind him that I'm the OLKC, the only living Klingon chancellor. But it's been 25 years of delight. I've been all over the world in a lot of cases. You know, from Sydney to New Zealand to back to Prague to. I never did anything in Japan. I'd like to, but or in
right now we're in space.
Yeah, and this is wonderful. Yes, maybe you could bring us touchdown in. Touchdown there. Well, touchdown
somewhere not covered in snow.
I just think docking bay 4 on the station there.
Is that what they don't say touchdown? Touchdown at 0400 hours. They don't say touchdown, do they?
No, docking.
No, not docking with another ship. Landing.
Oh, landing? Well,
landing.
It doesn't happen often.
I mean,
landed once.
But when you touchdown on the moon, the lunar lander.
The Eagle has landed, right?
Yeah.
So.
The Eagle has landed. Yeah, they don't do it. Yeah. They don't say touchdown.
No, they do say splashdown though. For when the capsule comes back in, that would splash down into the ocean, of course.
They don't do. You know, they didn't.
The
last thing the Russians don't basically land in dirt. You know, they didn't think of water. They shoot in.
Indians want that
because they're freaking tough. Those Russians. Yeah.
Touche.
Anyway, I was around.
True enough.
7. Literally, everybody my age. I was 7. And you'd lie in your front yard and just stare in the summer, waiting to see Sputnik, which is tiny pinprick point of a light going, you know, incredibly slowly. And but that's Sputnik. Those bastards!
Get out of here!
Yeah, get out of here!
Well, you know, speaking of touchdowns, why did you decide to call your newest book "Confessions of a Klingon Linebacker"?
Well, let me think. Let me look here. Two things.
Which will be in my hand shortly, I promise.
It better be. I'm coming up. I was just reading something. What was I reading? was reading about. Help me find it. I think it was reading about my dad. Oh yeah, it was about. There it is. The Blaster, page 55. My encounter with my dad's Renault phenomena, which is a disease. He died of a very strange disease. Will be elaborated upon later, but for now I must return to the beginning of my career as a wannabe outside linebacker for Crossland High School. When tryouts came along, I was ready to turn right around and avoid getting killed by the juniors and seniors at practice, who were huge, and I swear they were actually salivating at the impending prospect of murdering the new kids, especially those of us with no protective fat or muscle attached to our lanky skeletons. But there was my dad to think of, and there was my Uncle Dick, who was built like a brick shithouse and expected me to play football. So back in my day, about 55 years ago, there was no such thing as traumatic brain injury. It didn't exist. Right. There was barely even anything known as a face mask.
You guys were lucky. People get them all the time now.
Yeah, the junior varsity helmets were heavily gouged with hairline fractures, and they looked like something worn by Jim Thorpe from the 20s. The varsity, eventually, they came and I found a uniform in my play. Okay, so I made it. But without the sight, it was depressing. But when assistant coach's whistle blew, there I was, slapping the sides of my helmet with my open hands, running in place, hurling myself into the ground, immediately jumping to my feet, again running in place until the signal to run as fast as I could into a red padded machine accurately named the Blaster. It was not welcoming. Nearly everyone who went through the thing before me complained of ringing in their ears and flashes of light following their assault on this evil, debilitating machine. And then it was my turn. I felt like I was in a trench fighting in World War I when the unfeeling and self-possessed lieutenant looked at us huddling together against the concussion of mortars and rat-a-tat enemy machine guns. He finally cried out in patriotic zeal tinged with a touch of sadism, "Over the top!" I knew the blast. I knew it was going to hurt, but I hoped to survive. As I started running at it, I prepped for my demise while lowering my head and hurling myself into this giant red, unmovable arms. I ran at it, exploding my head and shoulders into those 6 steel spring-loaded arms that could be adjusted to impenetrable. And then I was through and still alive. The Blaster did not seem to dislike me. In fact, I think it liked me.
That's awesome. Oh, wow. I can relate to that. I played football in high school, and it was, especially when I was in grade 9, it was scary.
Right. Well, that was just past grade 9 to grade 10. That was the first year of high school when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. But that so I played football in high school, and then I went on and played it in college, outside linebacker on the left side because I have a bad left eye. And so I didn't want anything to be on that side of me because I couldn't see them. And there were no rules back then. They say, everything that happens now is like everything that I was taught to do as an outside linebacker is illegal now. Totally illegal. First thing you're taught to do is to hit the guy on the side of the head with your fist as soon as you do. And now you can't do that.
It's like in hockey, you're not allowed to give him the lumber anymore.
Right. No. You can't. And but anyway, that changed my life. I played football, and when I went to college, I didn't go to college for really any other reason than to play football. It doesn't sound like me. I understand. My mother was a Latin and a French teacher, and my dad was in the Air Force. And I was a tall, skinny kid, and but my Uncle Dick was built like a brick shithouse, as I said, and he expected me to play football. So I'm glad I did. I got a scholarship. Anyway, college was paid for because of football. So that changed my life. And then the next major thing that changed my life was getting cast on Star Trek. Because it allowed me not only to live in the Alpha Quadrant, but travel the world on somebody else's dime. It was astounding. And so that changed my life. So that's why it's called Confessions of a Klingon Linebacker. So everything I did, good and bad, to get me to those places is in this book, just about.
Right.
Well, I can't wait to read it.
So now, when you started playing football, were you already acquainted with the stage, or what?
No.
What drew you to acting and a life sort of on the boards or behind the camera, or in front of the camera, I guess?
Janet Cunningham.
All right.
Doesn't it sound like? Yeah, she looks exactly like that. Janet Cunningham.
Who?
I hear you.
Just
Janet,
picture it.
I quit. I didn't play football in my senior year. They were so pissed at me because my defensive coach said, "You're going to be you're up for Little All-American." I said, "Look, I had a girlfriend then named Diana who was one of the original hippies, and she had complete and utter disregard for sports, intercollegiate sports especially. And maybe she would have. Well, no, anyway. God rest her soul. She's passed on now, but she was everything. I've said it before. So many things that are good about me, and there's many, many, many things that are bad about me. But most everything that's good about me was developed from Diana. She was just a wonderful person, but hated football. So, because I would rather have Diana than playing football, I quit when I was a senior. I said, there's 500 people in a 20,000 seat stadium here at Bucknell. What the hell am I doing with my senior year? I can't spend 9 hours a day, in football practice, getting ready, getting, all the training to everything. I said, there must be something better that I could do with my life. So I was leaning against a brick wall outside the Coleman Theater at Bucknell in central Pennsylvania. And Janet Cunningham walked by. She said, "Hi, John." "Oh, hi. What are you doing?" And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "Well, they're auditioning for Murad Saad in here at the theater. You going to audition?" And I said, because I hadn't done any theater. I hadn't even thought about it. And she said, I said, "Well, are you in it?" And she said, I hope so. And it turned out she wasn't. She never didn't get cast, but I did. So there I was. I think I thought the picture was here. It's somewhere. Anyway, so I got cast, and the guy who, in so many cases, your mentors you meet in life. Well, the director of the show was a guy named Dr. Harvey Powers. Okay. And he was an amazingly kind and talented man. And if my first quote director had not been Harvey Powers, I don't know if I'd have spent a life in the theater. Because he was something else. He's passed on now, but his son lives right near me, oddly enough. We were both in Murad Saad, which is perfectly good for a football player because it was about insane the Charenton, an insane asylum in France at the turn of at the French Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And I pretended I was this. Imagine I was cast because I was big, and it looked good on stage with other people of different shapes and sizes. So I'm sure I got cast because of my size, because I had no words, I had no lines, but I made it my business. Every time it's basically an argument between Marquis de Sade and Jean-Paul Marat. And every time the Marquis de Sade would get up out of his chair and walk over there, I would sneak up and sit in his chair and pretend that I was the Marquis de Sade.
You're the understudy.
I was the unknown understudy, yeah. But anyway, it was Harvey. And then, but in high school football, that was in college, but in high school football, I had a genius as a coach, John Merricks. He's the best director I've ever had, and he was a coach. He wasn't a director, but he directed. Can I explain this one thing to you?
Absolutely.
Of course, by all means.
These stories,
Not at all.
No, we love it.
We would walk out for every home game. Merricks he got skull caps for us, matching skull caps, knit caps, and warm-up jackets. And we'd all walk out silent in single file. There was like 4 teams, offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense. And we'd walk out silently in single file, holding our helmets, and walk past. It was a long walk from the dressing room, across the parking lot into the playing field. And as we approached the field, we would put our helmets down in team order on the bench, and then walk over and stand in the end zone that we were going to defend first. We'd stand there in silence for 10, 15 minutes. In silence. Just stand there. The other team was running around their side of the field, catching passes, warming up, doing this and that. And we were silent statues, staring at them.
Chewing on nails.
Yes. and then eventually, Big John Merricks would walk among us, just look us in the eyeballs and walk on to the next guy. And then went out and stood in front of us, facing us. We're silent, unmoving, no movement. And he would stand there and just look at us and shake his head or nod his head. And eventually he'd start. And we would start with him. And it gradually increased in speed and speed and speed and speed. And then the roar would go as a unit. And the people were over there throwing passes and hiking the ball in, and they'd hear this and say, "What the fuck?" And it went. We did it every home game, and it was pure psychology. They didn't know what to make of us.
Yeah, you're very Klingon.
We lost 2 games in my 3 years at high school. We were fat. And it was because of him. He had very simple plays, psychology to the max, and anyway, so he was a life changer for me. Unfortunately, my college coach was an idiot. I'm sorry, reading my book or hearing this podcast.
No. I want to know more about your life. So
no. I mean the people that know.
No.
College coach.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a long time ago. But it's.
Did you have aspirations of like playing pro, or was that sort of never?
If I'd have been 3 inches taller, I was 6'1". If I'd have been 6'3" or 6'4", I would have might and weighed or something. I mean, I was still thin. The most I ever weighed was like 230, 228 as an outside linebacker. That was acceptable, but I wasn't quite tall enough to play in the pros, even if I'd have been able to, because they're good.
Right. But it's very difficult to make, but so that was kind of, maybe you're like, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to play football for the rest of my life, so I'm going to, maybe try this acting thing.
I graduated from college, and I got a job with the federal government for 2 years. My job was resource recovery, and to improve resource recovery. 1993, I graduated in 73. I graduated in 72. And in 73, the National Environmental Policy Act was passed in the U.S. The NEPA Act, which created the EPA.
Right.
And I got a job as in the General Services Administration, an office of the EPA in the GSA. And my job, the first big thing I did was after a while, there's another thing in there I won't go into, but there was the federal government had a recycling program in every agency of the government. And I made it my job to ride the garbage trucks at night, ride the garbage trucks into and find out why we were losing money on the paper recycling business. And so I called in, I saw something funny was going on. And so I called the general accounting office and I said, I need to do an audit. I need to ask you guys to do an audit of our recycling program. So every agency in the government was going to be audited for losing money. And a guy came into my office. I was 23. A guy came into my office. He was probably in his 50s, and big guy. And he walked in. He said, "Are you John Hertzler?" Or Hertzler? I said, "Yeah." He said, "Close the door. You called for an audit?" Yeah, it's because he said, "Yeah, I know why. There's not going to be an audit." I said, "What?" Yeah, no, I was just talking to the guy at GAO, and they're starting next week. He said, "No, there's not going to be an audit, John Hertzler." I said, "Well, why not? Why?" Because it's connected. 23. I said, "Connected to what?"
Oh no.
He said, "It's connected." Oh,
Tough business to be in.
oh. And
Yikes.
and then he left the room. I said,
Thank God.
"Yeah." I said,
Oh my goodness.
We can't even protect the garbage in the federal government from organized crime. What the hell? How am I going to make the world safe for democracy?
Hired goons.
Yeah.
Like you never answer the door when they say they're hired goons. Yeah.
So anyway, that was
what a thing to learn
know,
at 23 that way.
JG, our friend Heather here says that in fact she met you at HalCon. So it says that you have been to our fair province of Nova Scotia. It says she met you at HalCon in 2012.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
She sent me a picture.
Right on.
Is it embarrassing? Is it of the two of us in a hotel room or? I hope not.
Oh, she's sending those ones now.
Oh,
No, but it's like it looks to be like a Klingon karaoke style thing going on.
Oh,
there.
yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Fun.
What's her first name?
Heather.
Heather. Heather. I hope I apologize. Anything that I did, Lord, please forgive me.
I also don't have a great memory, so I know where you're coming from.
It gets worse.
Did I do that?
It gets worse.
Yeah, I hope not.
Beard of yours, changes slightly to become this. Remembering anything is really, I almost remember writing my book.
She says no apologies necessary.
Thank you very much. All right.
One more question I had from just you telling the story of when you were playing football and having the bad left eye. Did that tie into when you played Martok and giving you like the scarred eye? Like what was the genesis like of that? Did they like, oh, we're thinking of poking one of his eyes out, and you were like, well, poke the left one out because it's I don't see as well for that one.
That's what happened. You nailed it. Wow. They said we're going to bring you back, but we're going to give from your time on the prison, the Jem'Hadar. Was it Jem'Hadar?
Yeah, it's the Jem'Hadar prison.
Asteroid thing.
For your years or months in there, we're going to take your eye out. And I said, okay. They said, we're going to do the right eye. I said, no. Can't do the right eye. I will knock over things like Ferengis. And I said, I can't see out of my left eye, so you have to do that one. And they said, oh, okay. So that's how it got scarred. And then they said, once they did that, they said, all right. Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it must be said, Ferengi are notoriously difficult to stack. Let's just
yeah.
To stack?
Too much ear. Yeah.
Yes. Have you ever tried stacking Ferengi?
I can't. I have. No. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Another question I have about that, actually, your role of Martok. Did they tell you, because you played like 3 episodes as a changeling, you weren't really Martok. Did they tell you that? Just you're playing Martok, but you're not really Martok? And then
it was the Way of the Warrior, and then you came back next season, right?
At the end of that season, the Way of the Warrior was both the fake Martok, but they didn't think the person that they were going to. I got revealed as a shapeshifter at the end of Way of the Warrior, right?
Mm-hmm. No, it was the end of the season because they brought you back because they thought Galron was the changeling, and so they're trying to kill Galron.
Right.
It ended up, but that was the episode.
They find out in the prison episode in Purgatory Shadow because they find you in prison. They're like, well, who's the other Martok? And same with like Bashir was there.
Oh, but I'd already been blown up as the
changeling.
Really? Oh,
yeah. So we didn't know where the real Martok was, or we presumed dead, but it turned out he was alive.
Heather helped us out there. It was in Apocalypse Rising.
Apocalypse Rising is the episode. Yeah.
Well, that's when I returned in the prison thing, right?
No, that's the one where you got blown
That's in Purgatory's Shadow and by Inferno's Light.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, that's it. In my memory, I thought it was the end of Way of the Warrior, the second, because it was a 2-parter. I thought at the end of that second part, I got blown up, but I guess not.
But for me, you were playing it differently. I recently rewatched those, and like when you're the changeling, you're acting very different than when you come back later and you're like the real Martok. So I just didn't know if they had told you.
Well, no, they hadn't. They hadn't decided. It was they. This is what I was told by the people in charge. They said we were gonna make it Galron as the changeling, but that we figured that was too obvious. Galron is just nasty, as well as being whatever. Bob knows how I feel. But anyway, so they decided to make it me, but they had I was only supposed to be in 2 episodes and gone.
Right.
And they brought me back because they said, you know what, it makes more sense that you would have been the changeling. So you've been on a prison planet, the real Martok, for this time, and then we can bring you back. But you're got to be all scarred up from being a tackling dummy for the Jem'Hadar. So that's when I learned about it. And I remember Ira Bear, the showrunner and executive producer, said, by the way, we can give you an artificial eye, so you'll be able to have both your eyes. And I said, oh, no, don't give me any. Leave this hideous scar tissue over my face. It's a much better idea. And I can pretend I'm a pirate. And,
It's exactly what your character says too.
No, I have the clip here. I'll play it.
I do not want an artificial eye.
that was Sid trying to.
That was you talking to Ira Bear, and they just kept it.
No, that was Sid I was talking to. I was in sick bay.
That's right.
And Sid is so funny, Alexander Siddig. He is probably my favorite guy on that show. I just loved him. I have in the big wedding thing. You are cordially invited when Worf and
great episode.
and Barry. There's a picture. I wish I had it. I should have got my pictures together to show you, to illustrate this. But there's a picture that was taken of those two. I don't know. Anyway, but it's Worf in his red outfit that was beautiful, and her red outfit, which was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, she has a smile on her face, and she's looking like, we are gonna do some things tonight. You. And Michael is there. Not only are his hands folded in front of his crotch, his shoulders are like this, and like scared to death of what's going to happen. I hope
that's one of the funniest episodes. Like, it's so funny.
Oh, I know why I was going to tell you about that, because Sid was standing next to me as we were watching the ceremony, and he kept whispering in my ear, now. Because the tradition was to go up on the stage and whip the shit out of the group
with sticks.
Sid could not wait to get up there and beat the hell out of Worf.
I
wouldn't miss a wedding.
Thing. That was really in real life that was happening.
Yeah, at least 3 times he said, now. Oh, no, man.
Ontario Dave here had a Klingon wedding.
I did. Actually, I had the Batluff above me here, and my wife and I reenacted that wedding.
Oh, you did.
From
what'd you use to get beaten with?
We didn't have the beatings. Davin pointed out after.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, he's like, if I was there, I would have beat you with a stick. Like,
there was a paint stick to your 10-year anniversary. I promise.
So I didn't get to.
Apparently, there were Snickers in the audience. I wouldn't have had any of that either.
Yeah, there was
laughter. This is a serious ceremony. Y'all settle down.
Yeah. You know? How many? When is the 10th anniversary?
10th anniversary will be in 5 years, or so.
Well, I'll have to come back for it. You know, everybody loved hitting Michael with the
with the stick. They didn't even put it into the final episode. It's not even in there. You know,
you just hear it.
You just hear it.
Which
is
even funnier. It's like when you see somebody fall in a movie, but you don't see the end. It's always way more hilarious.
Well, what we did, what they did, I don't know what they. I don't know what they did use, but anyway, people kicked ass on. Everybody wanted it because Michael's he's a big guy. He's just annoying and so straightforward. You know, that is not the Klingon way. Well, try this on.
The relationship between you and your wife in that episode is hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh my god,
it's so funny.
You know, for the first time, my wife Sorella is going to be at a convention with me.
Oh wow!
Really?
In April. She's coming up, and we are going to renew our vows.
Wow.
Amazing.
Mark and Sorella. So they're going to come up and beat the hell out of me.
Oh, yes.
Maybe when you do vows, you should beat the hell out of her, and that'd be fair.
Very fair.
I'll mention that to her.
And somewhere sitting in the background now.
It's like, how well do you remember that episode?
It does segue me on one of my other questions. Was I'm a big player of Star Trek Online, and I think some of your best work in general is in this game. Like, you really bring it. Your character of Martok. I get to go with Martok. I've literally been to Grethor, which is Klingon hell, back and forth with you. The story in it is amazing. And I just want to, your wife Sorella, she's in like that episode, the first episode when you come back from the brink of death, and it's still going. The story is still going. There's gonna be a new episode coming out in a few days with Nicole Dubois' Esri Dax character. So what's been your experience on that?
They had to they brought me in for some sort of it was just reuse of stuff from that episode. They had to pay again, I guess, for that, which was great. I loved it. They couldn't use it without Screen Actors, SAG rules, without paying me again for some sort of pickup money. But there was, I'm trying to think. There was did you on Lower Decks? Have you seen Lower Decks?
Oh yeah.
Oh, love it. We're big fans of it over here.
And you've seen, I think it's in the third season, Martok runs sort of a Dungeons and
video game.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, that was hilarious. We know that when you mean exactly.
Well, that's the funniest line I had in all those years of Star Trek. The funniest line was the guy says, "Well," I said, "Well, you're going straight to you're going straight to hell, or you're going to Grethor." And he said, "Oh no, yes, it was a dishonorable death." What do you mean it committed suicide? No, I didn't. The guy said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Look, he ripped your arm off and beat you to death with it. So technically, you died by your own hand."
Yeah, that was a classic line, right? Died by your own hand.
I loved it.
Lower Decks is so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, hilarious. Orville is hilarious.
The Orville? Yeah, I love the Orville.
I went back and watched the first episode of the Orville a couple nights ago, and I am on the floor by myself laughing at this. It's
gets better too. Yeah.
It gets better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is when he was birthing an egg.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I saw that episode.
The two ensigns were hilarious. Such great byplay with them.
I love that show. And back to Star Trek Online, yeah, some of your lines, like even that first episode where you come back, it's called Brushfire. We're fighting these Zenkathis, which are these big alien things, and
I see they've sent a pack of filthy Karoots to fight us. Good. I can use the exercise.
You're like, yeah, Martok, let's go, let's get them. And, so it's just like,
filthy Karoots. I didn't remember. I have no memory of
Karoots.
Yeah.
So about you wrote a couple Star Trek novels yourself, and that focused around Martok, right?
Yeah, I don't know where I should have brought them down. I have
well, we have the picture here. We can bring that up. That's for sure. Yeah, it was on that opening poster there. There they are. The Left Hand of Destiny, Part 1 and Part 2.
Orange, the amber colored one is the episode of Part 1. The blue is Part 2.
So, what was the motivation to do that? Was there more story of Martoks you wanted to tell, or you just wanted to take a crack at novel writing? Or
I did want to take a crack at novel writing, but Terry Erdman came to me and said, "John, would you be interested in writing a follow-up Star Trek book about Martok?" I said, "Yeah." So he said, well, we'll set it up. So they did. And that was in 98, 99.
Somebody is an angry cat.
That is a
cats.
pissed off. She's in her room and she says,
Let me out. Let me
Yeah.
out.
I have 4 cats. I was just like, is this my house?
yeah,
I was thinking, where is Zelda? Oh, no.
quiet. Yeah.
Cats always listen when you say quiet.
Absolutely. Cats don't listen to anything. You know, you either have to terrify them or pet them.
But they're like Klingons.
Anything in between, no. I don't know what I was saying, but it was.
What you know?
Well,
you know.
I wanted to ask you.
Oh yeah, but why you're interested in writing Martok?
Oh yes, yep. Why
I
you wrote the
wasn't
novel.
until they asked me. I know what I was going to say was at the same when I was writing. That was the 98, 99, and I wrote the first book, and then my daughter was born in 99, and once she was born, our father-daughter time, she was, you know, from birth to first, second, third year, she was our time was in the really early hours of the morning, out on the deck, watching the sunrise, you know, and that was the time I also wrote. That was my writing time before she was born, because your mind is fresh. My mind, anyway, anything after 12 o'clock is not possible for me because it's
Same morning person.
Yeah. So I didn't get. I had a hard time writing the second one. And they brought in Jeff Lang to help, and he went back and fixed everything that was questionable in the first book, in the first outline. They hadn't printed either one of them yet. And he was mainly the writer on the second. I wrote the outline, it was about 90 pages, but he was the head writer on the second. But they gave us, you know, both credit for both books. So it was great for me. And Jeff is a great person. I just, you know, and he adored Klingons. He loved Martok. So he was really my most inspirational contribution in the first, for both of them, was naming the Nog character. In my mind, the character was Aaron Eisenberg. He was, I call him Phar, Phar. And I call him that for the precise reason of him being able to say at the end of a communication, far out. And that's my favorite part of the book.
Well, my follow-up about those books is, can we get an audio version, perhaps? Because I'm kind of an audiobook guy these days.
Man, you know what? I have been pushing for that. I said, look, it's from Martok's perspective.
Yeah.
I can do it. I wrote it with Jeffrey. I think you would actually make some money on an audio version of this saga.
I'd buy him.
And
Andrew Robinson has his novels, right?
He just did his.
A lot of people do. But Andy was on. Did he start on DS9? His character.
He did, yeah.
Well, I'm surprised, but they didn't.
First season though.
Huh? The first season.
First season though.
Yeah. He was recurring from the first season, like Nog, like. Anyway, I didn't even think about pushing to get it to reading it until about 5 or 6 years ago. I said, you know what? They should be an audio book. They should be recorded, and I should do it. And I couldn't get them to. They were on to the new series, this. So they really weren't interested in another Klingon.
Well, we'll start a petition over here on Live Long and Podcast.
Might be a segue to my next. I wanted to ask you about the Captain Worf show that never was, and how far did it get along, and
I don't know.
And you don't
know. That's I have been. I did some work on Axanar, Prelude to Axanar, and that was a thorn in the side of CBS. I had thought that the producers that picked up the Axanar thing after Prelude, I thought that they had worked out all the problems with CBS and Paramount and whatnot, and evidently they hadn't, or it just became bollocks and ugly. And for the past 5 years, I've been sort of on the outs with the fifth floor with legal, because finally it's been worked out and things are happening again, but it's been slow, and Axanar is part of the reason.
The Axanar thing. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just
a great piece.
Prelude to
I can't tell you how thrilled I was the first time I ran across that. I think I found it on YouTube first.
I agree. Prelude to Axanar it's only is it 40 minutes? I don't know what it is.
Oh, maybe less, but yeah, just about that.
But it's really professionally done. Everything about it is wonderful. I mean, plus they have so many people in it. Heard,
that's what struck me. Yeah,
Tony Todd, yeah,
and Nichelle, yeah.
And I don't know about you, but the shot of a D7 in atmosphere hovering over a city is one of the most chilling.
Yeah, it is.
Still sort of like diorama images from a series famous for diorama images.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
the guy who did Tobias Richter did. I think he did sound or special effects, oversaw special effects with who's the main guy at Star Trek?
Kurtzman.
Kurtzman now, yeah.
Not Kurtzman. The guy who did special effects for Next Gen and
Drexler, not Drexler.
No,
it's not Akuda. It's
Curry. Dan Curry.
Oh, Dan Curry.
Dan Curry did so much, and I think he worked on this too. But
wow,
he was wonderful. But Tobias Richter, German special effects guy, did a spectacular job. I mean, it was every bit as it was broadcast quality, and that I think. Well, I don't want to. I think they were surprised to see how good it was, and they said, "Well, that's going to eat into our regimen, our
lore or whatever."
Yeah. So,
and it was during that quiet phase too, where there was no.
There was nothing coming out, and we're like, "Well, the fans will make stuff on our own." They're like, "Well, no, we're going to make something on our own." But the Captain Worf show was not a fan made thing, though, was it? It was going to be
no. I don't. That was your question. Yeah, Dave. I don't know. I never really heard much about it at all, except I heard more about it from fans asking me about it, and I didn't know anything about it, so they didn't confide in me.
My understanding is that they started developing in it, and I think Michael Dorn was involved, but then it got canceled somewhere along the way. They never ended up doing it.
Well, the thing about it is, what the cost for in DS9. DS9 was the most expensive series at that time. I don't think they got more expensive than that after the fact, but because there were so many aliens, the makeup people alone, it was $2.5 million an episode.
Wow.
Just makeup.
And
for the total.
The budget.
Yeah.
Compared to what Next Gen was doing, not even more than half, only $1 million an episode.
Yeah.
Years earlier.
So Next Gen it cost them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they, everything about it was expensive. The multiple sets, the multiple alien types, always on the bridge, everything.
J.G. Hertzler.
Well, I was probably the rock that
sunk the ship. Yeah.
Broke the back. Yeah. But it's a pity because I think it's a no-brainer to do a follow-up Klingon-esque episode.
Oh yeah.
Any kind of a sequel to Deep Space Nine, I think, would be welcomed. I think there's a huge fan base out there who's just clamoring. Give us stuff.
Oh,
I think that like this most recent season of Star Trek Picard, which gave us a little bit of that. Was so great
and stuff.
The changelings, seeing just where these characters were. Worf in particular for me, but
it was all the Next Gen people, and it was fabulous. I mean, when it got the Next Gen people on there, I was not a fan of the first couple seasons so much.
Yeah, we echo the similar sentiments.
Yeah, but once they got when I saw Frakes for the first time was on there, and I said, "Oh, all right, now I'm watching," because Patrick is just a brilliant man with the Shakespearean background is phenomenal, and National Shakespeare in London. I mean, he worked for 25 years in the business over there in England. He was making maybe $200 or $300 what was it? But it was in euros or
pounds
or something. Yeah,
but it was like a $250 a week job. He never made any money, even though it's much more highly respected a life in the theater in London in England than it is here, but still, you barely make a living. Until he was making $12 million an episode in the X-Men.
Yeah,
then you're talking. But he was his life was that of what's the word? Not famous, but star. He wasn't a star. He was an actor. He was a leading actor at some of the, one of the great Shakespeare companies in the world. He later taught a workshop, Shakespeare workshop, on the lot at Paramount.
Oh, really?
I happened to ride around with him, looking for the proper place to do his. To run his school, the right place, and we rode around all of Hollywood looking for a proper space. And finally, he ended up saying, "What am I doing? Why can I get a sound stage at Paramount?" And he did. That's where he ended up doing it on stage, the Soundstage H, where musicals were done. Because it had great acoustics. And so he taught his Shakespeare workshop there. There were about 15 people in it, and I was lucky enough to be one of them.
Wow.
And at one point he said, I remember him saying, he was talking about the Scottish play, which
we won't name.
Yes, which shall not be named. Well, I
made that mistake in front of a different actor.
Well, not only did he name it, but he quoted it. And I said, Patrick, you can't say that name. You're in a theater. He said, oh, bollocks that. I said, okay, I will go outside. I will close the door. I'll turn around 3 times. I'll spit and I'll knock to get back in as your proxy. Okay, which I did.
I gotta toss the salt.
Yes. So he was not as much of a believer in theater superstition. I think it's better than Catholicism myself. I think
No arguments there.
No arguments there.
I think it's a great religion.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, because I've been known to do a bit of twaining over here at Live Long and Podcast, is you were campaigning for political office as Mark Twain. Is that what did I read that properly?
Yeah.
Because if I did, it's maybe the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Just a second. I think
This is amazing. I had not heard that until.
Are we
this
getting
moment.
a costume change or something?
I'll be back.
Well, I do declare.
Just give me a half an hour.
I say.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain. Check out our.
I read that
Mark
too.
Twain
Yeah, and there was
over
also a
on Zero
mention.
Radio Theater.
Yeah, of somebody who had played Mark Twain for like many years.
Oh, yeah.
Not the guy who played him in the Next Generation episode. But
Yeah, I don't remember his name. He was
Holbrook, something like that.
wasn't Hal Holbrook. No, he didn't.
Hal Holbrook, no.
No, but the actor who did play it was very good. This is was when I was running for Congress, and my daughter did this sketch for these bookmarks of me, but I can read. You won't be able to read it. Oh, I don't know if you can even see it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great right there.
Yeah.
Politicians are like diapers.
Like diapers, they need to be changed frequently and for the same reason. But that was my
Truer words rarely spoken.
yeah, I know. I'm JG Hertzler and I approve this bookmark. Yeah.
Well, if you want to come up here and run in Nova Scotia, I'll vote for you.
Jerry
I'll
Harden.
run your campaign.
Oh, that's his.
Oh, Jerry Harden, that's right.
Also played Deep Throat on X-Files.
What a great role.
Thanks, Norman. I wanted to ask you about the years on Deep Space Nine. You're there in the original pilot. You're playing the Vulcan captain, but then you don't come back until you're playing Martok. Right?
Yeah.
Oh no, there was Laws. Don't skip over Laws.
Laws is at the end of the season. He's in season 7. He's later.
Oh yeah, Laws was. Laws was. They asked me to do Laws much later, and would you come back and do this character Laws? And I said, yeah, sure. But I said I gotta change my voice somehow because I don't want him to be confused with Martok. So what I ended up doing was, I can't remember any lines specifically, but I tried to talk. I tried to talk in a higher register and put in the Shatner-like pauses. So. But still, everybody said, "Yeah, I heard your voice right away. I knew it was you." I said, "Oh, great."
Well, yeah, but Jeffrey Combs played.
You made that character incredibly unlikable, and that's what you're going for with that character. It's like, but the way you were talking, it was just like so like demeaning to everyone around.
It was. One of the first things I did was go onto the bridge. All the regulars were there. Renee brought me out into the bridge area, I guess it was the bar. Yeah, the bar area. They were all seated in there doing something. And I walked in and I proceeded to offend each person individually. and they all just hated my ass as we walked out of there. And I said to Renee as we went through the door, I said, "Well, I think that went very well."
It sounds like you guys did have a lot of fun on set. Because
isn't what you hear.
What I want to ask you about, because you always hear about the Next Generation cast were like thick as thieves. They were like almost like a family, really got along. Always Deep Space Nine, you don't hear that in the same way. But because I think that there's just so many more of you. Like the Next Generation, there's 7 of you, but and then on Deep Space Nine, there's like the core 9, like the main cast members, but then there's like 15
there's a lot of secondary.
Yeah, and great characters, but like there was probably a lot of time you're not together, or you're kind of seeing each other here and there. And like, what was it like to be part of that group? Like, was it sort of were there cliques? Was it more like, just professional?
Not so much. Well, I think Ira, we weren't nearly as loosey-goosey as I'm told. I didn't pay attention really at that point. I'm told they were. There was a lot more. Well, I can't say any of the words I'm thinking of. A lot more, fun, screwing around, but not.
You can swear on this show.
Professionally. They were than there was on DS9. They were pretty persnickety. Is that a swear word? We were pretty persnickety about saying, which WHICH rather than I don't know how to even say it. But the words were very, very critical. So much so that you could, if you wanted to change a line or change a word, you had to call the writer's room or the writers and ask if can I make this change for almost anything. The only thing that I did, I mean, I don't have I'm not the best memorizer in the world, but I will I'll do it over and over and over and over and over and over again so that I have it, so I don't waste anybody's time on set. But I had in the episode Once More Into the Breach.
Right. We just covered that one here on the podcast.
I think it was Once More Into the Breach. The
one with Core?
Yes.
Yeah,
see, I refuse to forgive Core for what he did to my father. He refused to allow me into the
officers
candidate school. Yeah, for Klingon officers, because I was of non-noble birth. I was, just born outside the garbage heaps of Mexico. It's what it is.
At the lowlands. You were from the
lowlands. That's what they're like. I said, oh, okay. So I refused to forgive him. And when he asked for that, I said, I refused to do it. And Worf said to me, why do you feel that strongly about it? Everything has worked out pretty well, And I said, then I told him the whole story of how I was refused entrance into the officers candidate school. And so I wanted to add a line. I said, well, my father's only wish for me, his only son, was that I become an officer in the Klingon Defense Force. And he denied my father that wish, that only wish. And I will never forgive him for that. And I said, can I add one line at the end of that speech? And it was, unfortunately, my father did not live to see the day that I became a commissioned officer. Unfortunately,
that's in there.
Did not. Yeah. And I called Ron Moore and I said, Ron, I'd really like to add this, because in my own life, my father never saw anything that I did in terms of television, film, or anything, because he died fairly young. And I said it would mean a lot, and I think it's perfect for this one speech where I feel so strongly I will not celebrate that great Dahar master.
Mm-hmm.
I said if he didn't, unfortunately, my father did not live to see that day.
I think that's the most memorable line in that speech. That's the one that I think about.
Yeah, that's how it ends. Yeah, and then Worf says, "Well, but I've been an officer of the ship anyway. Sorry."
Right, and I called Ron, and it felt very hot. It was very Hollywood. I went over to the phone. There's a phone on the side of the inside of the studio. Dial up the writer's room. Ron, yeah, this is JD. I'd like to add a line to your beautiful speech, if I may. And I read it to him what I wanted to do, and he said, "Absolutely, JG, perfect, absolutely."
Love it.
So that's the only thing I added of any substance ever. Otherwise, it was yeah.
You walk
Well,
by
that
the
certainly
writers'
testifies
room
to what
later,
you're-
and they're all just weeping. Like, no.
That's right. But it testifies to what you're saying was the difference.
Yeah, no, there. See, the writing is without writing, you've got nothing. You've got without the brilliant writers of those shows, and I think Star Trek, any sci-fi that is good sci-fi, is the hardest bunch of writing you can have, because not only do you have to write in human drama that's understandable in a human way to move the audience at all, but you have to put it in an alpha quadrant. You have to put it in places that don't exist.
Yeah.
So you have to, and I think it's harder. I think it gets short shrift in, Oscar time and Tony time and whatnot. I think it gets short shrift because it's unbelievably hard to do great work. There's an occasional Dune, there's an occasional Frank Herbert or Robert Heinlein or the greats, but there's a lot of great work written all the time, and those writers in that writer room for DS9 were fabulous.
I tell everyone it's the greatest story ever told. I think DS9 stands apart from
so good
everything. Really.
Well, for me, I wonder whether some of that problem with science fiction, particularly, stems, and I've thought of this for a long time. Right, I'm a big science fiction fan. I love the history of science fiction writing as well. But so much of it comes out of the early pulp publishing industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wonder if that stigma of it being essentially a kind of lower class form of storytelling in some sense, even in terms of the paper you get it on, has stuck with it, right?
I think so. I think it's amazing to me how, well, first of all, in Hollywood, writers, for some unknowable reason, are considered at the bottom of the totem pole. Writers.
It is strange, right?
Without writers, you've got nothing. You've got no totem pole. And then if writers become well known and famous, then Katie bar the door. They can do and say whatever they want and charge whatever they want. But for the millions of writers that struggle on a daily basis to get any kind of foothold in Hollywood, they just get no respect whatsoever. It's astounding to me because I don't get it. Without them, I'd be talking, I'd be doing this, making it up as I go along, which isn't bad, I guess.
It's good conversation, but you're right. It doesn't necessarily make theater, right?
No, I love this. You see this? I Am the Danger. You know where that's from? Oh, that's my book.
Yeah, I can bring that up in big screen here. Yeah.
Okay, you see that? I Am the Danger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what that's from?
No.
I Am the Danger. No.
A friend of mine made that T-shirt for me because I was. It's a long sleeve T-shirt with that quote on it because that's what Bryan Cranston says in
Breaking Bad.
Breaking
I
Bad.
am the danger. I am.
I am the one who knocks.
It's dangerous. It's I am the danger. That was the first. No, Sons of Anarchy, I think, was the first. Which one came first?
Sons of Anarchy came before.
Okay.
Okay.
That was the first binge for me. And then Breaking Bad was the second binge, and then I was sold. I mean, I couldn't get enough of Bryan Cranston, especially. And I got the black fedora, the sunglasses.
Oh, your Heisenberg. That's your Heisenberg. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Have you watched Better Call Saul? Have you seen that yet?
I never bought into Odenkirk.
Okay.
I just for some reason I didn't get it. Of course, I didn't get Game of Thrones the first time around either. And then I started watching it again, like at least 8 or 9 years after the fact. And suddenly I said, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, I dismissed it at first too, and then I kind of got into it as it later on.
Just dismiss the last season. It kind of goes off the rails a little.
Yeah, it sort of goes off the wall at the end.
I remember what happened in the last season.
They prefer it that way.
Yeah. I think they do.
Oblivion. It's just mainly Oblivion.
We have a question from the audience here. Which was your DS9 episode was your favorite?
The one I mentioned, I think it's between that and Soldiers of the Empire with
Another great one.
It was directed by LeVar, directed Soldiers of the Empire, and he was a brilliant director. Not only is he a good director, but since he had lived on the other side of the camera all those years from roots on, he knows what an actor does, and knows what an actor doesn't do or shouldn't do. And so he was enormously helpful as a director. There was one moment when he said, "Okay, we're going to do a Shatner shot." What's that? He said, "Oh, you're in the pilot's seat. You're in the control seat, captain's chair, and we put the camera down there, looking up at you, because it creates awe."
Right.
It makes you it makes you a Greek god, you know. I said, "Oh, and it's called a Shatner shot." Well, that makes sense. He called it anyway. But one of the funny about that same time, he said to me, he said, "You know, it's amazing, John, JG, how much emotion you can get out of just the one eye. You know, I'm amazed." I said, "LeVar, what are you talking? What the hell are you talking about? You didn't have any eyes." And yeah,
Touche. Yeah. Wow.
You know, at risk of over buttering your toast, I think Martok is one of like a flawlessly acted performance, and it's like there are performances where like it's just like a flawless acting performance, but there are also performances where it's like it's that, but also so uniquely personal to the actor that like plays it. And I feel like that's what you did with Martok on that show. It's just like it feels like you're there 3 times as much as you are, as far as like the episodes you're in and stuff.
Oh, well,
yeah, I completely agree. It's like your presence looms large over the show. You know, I think that's why they kept bringing you back in all these stories. And yeah, it's amazing.
From an actor's point of view, we don't know, you know, how it's being absorbed by the viewer. We hope that can be the case, but who was it? I think it was somebody like Robert, like one of the big stars of the gold. Can you see, honey? It's too dark. Let me turn the. Yeah, you can see. He said maybe there are 3 or 4 roles in an actor's life that they connect with, and other than that, you're acting. But they said if you're lucky, there's 3 or 4 that really it's a strange brew, of actors' life. The duality of actor character are just so close that there's no acting going on. And I was lucky. I think that's exactly what happened with this role for me. And it's, never happened before or after, but it was wonderful. I mean, it was
what do you think of the arc? Like, because like you say, he starts as this like guy from the Kethalolans who couldn't even be an officer, and then becomes the chancellor. It's such an arc to happen over 4 seasons.
Yeah, it was so easy for me to climb into the mentality of that ascent. I couldn't possibly let go of the humility of being born in a garbage dump, and I couldn't. You can never shed yourself of that. It's like the smell is always part of you. You know it's there, no matter how exalted you might become. From where you came, and I always tried to maintain the honesty of that. But it was the luck of the draw. I mean, it was the reason I got the role. A friend of mine, Ron Canada.
Not from Canada, though. He's not from Canada. He's
not from Canada. But Ron,
great actor though, also plays a great Klingon character.
Yes, exactly. And he was my roommate in New York. I directed a play called Practice that opened at the Perry Street Theater in New York, and he was part of it in LA, in DC. I first did it at the Playwrights Theater in DC. It was a new play at that point about a street hockey team in 1950, and Ron was part of that, and we became close, very good friends, and we did another show together called U.S. Surplus Soap, which was very funny. But
gotta look that up.
That sounds hilarious. Just about the title.
we had the same agent for a while, Chris Wright, and that's his family. I think it's Anne Wright, was a theatrical representative family in New York, going back decades. And Chris was the son, and he was the agent for both of us. And I eventually moved out of New York and went to San Francisco for 5 or 6 years, and then down to LA. And by that time, I had a different agent. But I only learned this after the fact, that Ron Canada had been offered the role, pending they had to see one more person for Martok. And that was me. And we are like brothers,
Wow.
And I got the role, I think, because I threw a chair into the wall and it stuck.
It had fell out, it would have been his.
If it had fallen out, the rest of history. But his agent called Chris and said, "Ron, I got some good news and some bad news. What if your best friend, JG, John Hertzler, got the role on Star Trek, and you didn't." And we've remained friends. He's like a prophet to me. I had so many questions. He won Emmys for a news broadcaster in WMAL in DC. I would watch this guy on TV, and then later we ended up as best friends until Star Trek.
And funny enough, you both play Klingon lawyers.
Yeah.
Yes.
You on
yes.
Enterprise and he on DS9.
He was Chapok. I love that episode, Rules of Engagement, that he's in, where he's like the prosecutor against Worf. He's so
and your Enterprise one as well.
Yes,
I love
he
that
could
one.
do no wrong for me too. In fact, I used him as he did Othello for me up in Maine. We did a production of Othello.
Oh yeah.
I brought Ron up because there was a guy that was going to do it, and he flaked out on me. I said, Ron, how fast can you learn this role? And he came up, and we had a wonderful summer. But yeah, and then we lived together in a group house in Brooklyn, and in DC, and then again in Brooklyn briefly, Park Slope. Anyway.
Yeah, he had been on Star Trek: The Next Generation as well. Earlier, the Masterpiece Society. He's like that guy who's telling them, "Don't talk to Picard" and all that. He's always.
Oh yeah, he did a lot of. He's had a great film career. I mean, he
did Othello with Patrick Stewart, I believe. I believe there was like this race swapped version of Othello that they did.
I saw it, and I told Ron,
Yeah.
Ron, here's my problem with that show. You're talking Elizabethan Shakespeare. You're talking in rhymed couplets, in iambic pentameter, and with everything that Patrick Stewart is born into. And yet he's been cast as the outsider. But the language you're speaking, he's the one who does it better than any insider possible.
Right.
So that it doesn't work for me, because he's not the, Othello cannot fit into Venetian society.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets him into a lot of his disaster. But you are the only one who fits into this Elizabethan world, and everybody else is an outsider. So I'm sorry, it does not work. And I didn't tell Patrick that, but that's what I felt about that production. I saw it at the Landsberg Center in DC, because I basically grew up in DC, and I thought it would be a wonderful idea. Then I watched it. I said no, and that's the reason it doesn't work, because you're the ultimate insider as a fellow, and that can't be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
but that makes complete sense what you're saying. I think that for that story to work, Othello has to be the outsider in how you present it. So I think they probably should have swapped roles. I don't know. I'm assuming Ron played.
No, everybody was black, and then he was the only white guy.
Oh,
right.
Is that what they did? Okay.
Yeah. The only one, and it didn't work for that reason.
Right. Yeah, because in principle, it sounds like a really interesting idea. Exactly.
They were all good actors, tremendous actors, but they didn't have the facility with the language that Patrick Stewart has. He and Ian McKellen are probably the two most accomplished Shakespearean actors at the same time, with all that stage experience, anyway.
Sure.
But he was my best friend. And he stayed in New York, and I still haven't. I've been very bad, and he never calls. He almost doesn't ever get a. He didn't want to have. He didn't have. He may still not have email. He fought the modern communications completely. He did not ever want to be a part of it, because he understood things.
I'm gonna say there's probably a great wisdom in that. Ultimately.
Tremendous! I would turn to him if I had a question about ideology or philosophy, anything. I would call Ron and say, Ron, here's what I'm thinking about. What do you make of this? And he would be able to say, well, it's interesting. You know, and he'd go on and tell me exactly why I was off my rocker. Yeah.
Well, don't think we should take all your night away.
Too late.
I do have one. Well, yeah, it's true. We've already done that.
But I had 4 nights, especially. Did I tell you how I was 73? Did I mention that? Keeping my beloved wife up, screaming at her. Besides that.
Gotta say that is an awesome poster you have behind you. Is that a custom, like that one of you and Gowron there?
Can you see it?
We could much better before the light was on.
When you got up a few times, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is a image that was made by Lightspeed Art. Gary Hassan put together, or his artists put together that image of Bob and I. And it was supposed to have, this is a story I heard, it was supposed to have Worf in the middle. But for some reason, Worf was too busy doing something else, and they didn't put it, so they just sort of blurred in a Klingon symbol sort of between us. If you get a chance to see it, I can't.
It is a fantastic
movie. But yeah, I love it. So I figured maybe that'd be in the background, but it really disappears back there. I don't know why that is.
It comes and goes. Well, I can't speak for my two co-hosts here, but one final question I have is, what do you think it is about Klingons that draws such enthusiasm out of people like myself and my co-host included? You know, we have a Klingon wedding over there, but it's like there's something about Klingons that just, like, you were able to do it, like, as far as keep going with it, your character after the show is over. It's just like,
I hesitate.
Could you have done that with a Vulcan? Like, probably not, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's something about Klingons.
No, Klingons are they operate at the extremes of human behavior, and it's like a relief to see that extent of what's the word? Not animus, but the extremes. It's interesting to see the extremes of human behavior. If we could all act like that, you know, we'd have probably wars constantly, but a great deal of fun. And
it's kind of what Klingons do, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's part of it. And I hate to say it. In fact, I hate to say it enough that I'm not going to say it, because it's just I think it's like playing sports. It's like playing football. You can do things on a football field that you'll be arrested for. Absolutely. You know, on the street. So we can do things as Klingons that no human would be permitted to do or say or act, or, you know. So I think it's refreshing for people to see, oh, that's who we could be, you know, if we just took off the blinders and
put it on the forehead.
Yeah, put it on the forehead. Yeah, and they look like rock stars. Not the new Klingons. They never should have taken the hair away from us.
Agreed. They put it back since they've
we're like space pirates. You know, it's
goblins.
It's
not goblins.
Goblins. It's a trip, and I was very lucky. That's all.
Right on.
Yeah, I have to echo Davan's remarks and just say that not only do I love the Klingons, but specifically Martok, I think in particular, because he is like the best Klingon, maybe the most Klingon, more than Worf. Worf is got this duality, he's got this human morality.
Yeah, he's got a human,
but he's he's noble and everything else. And a lot of the other Klingon characters, Gowron and these other ones, like they're Klingons, but like they're kind of like flawed. They're one way or the other. But Martok is like the most unapologetically Klingon, and he's a good guy, and he has this ability to sort of learn from his experiences. The episode, like the whole thing with Kor, I think is like maybe the greatest example of that, where he had like this grudge against Kor, and he even tries to throw a dagger into his chest at one point in the episode, and then by the end he's like, good for Kor. Like he comes around and he has like sort of like this moment where he lets go of like that old grudge and that hatred, and he's kind of changed his mind. And I think that's part of why I think the Martok character has been so beloved, and I think it's also, just your voice and your presence and what you bring to that personality is so intoxicating, so amazing. I think, I don't think I'm saying anything too profound here, because I think that all the other Star Trek fans of Deep Space Nine feel the same way. And that's why, they're bringing you into Lower Decks, and they bring you into Star Trek Online and all these other great things. And I just hope we get more of it, as the years go on.
Who do I make the check out to?
It's in Canadian, so don't worry about it.
Just
I have my checkbook out here. That doesn't happen very often.
I'd settle for an audio version of your novel.
Oh man, I would too. Nobody has time to read anything anymore. I would love to be able to record it. It was all set up. The novel. You mean the
yeah, your new book too. I'd take it all in audio version.
This was this is a life in the theater, basically. And in television and film. Not much film. The Yanomamo and rock and roll. The Yanomamo were a very, very, what's the word, rudimentary race in Brazil in the
Amazon basin there.
Yeah, the Amazon rainforest is what I'm trying to think.
One thing I think
enjoy it if you get this. You're going to enjoy it. I guarantee.
Oh, I know it.
I'm looking forward.
Well, I think it's one thing that your character and Worf's have in common. Worf's character always gets in trouble for being a bad parent, but Worf knocks out your character's son Drex, and then Drex is never mentioned again. And you bring Worf into your house, and it's just like there's no mention of Drex. It's like you got rid of Drex.
I know
they brought in Worf.
They must not have liked Drex. The writers just did not find a way to include any of the
He's the one who beats up Garrick, right, in the shop.
Yeah. And then they just never talk about him again.
He's basically from Sorella's side of the family.
Yeah.
He's gonna kick my ass. I'm gonna see her in April, and so if she hears me say that,
it's all fuel on the fire now.
Right.
Yeah.
But how are those vows?
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
so much for your time this evening.
Wonderful time. I hope it gets warm soon. I don't like 20 below, 30 below, 40 below. I don't.
You should move to this side of the lake because we get a lot less snow than down there.
So, you do?
Yeah, lake effect is low.
On this
New York.
side.
Yeah.
Geez, I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. I always assumed Canada is the Great White North.
No, upstate New York gets way more. Yeah.
Wow.
We were talking about it today. We feel colder. I feel the cold more keenly now because we get less of it. We get less snow. It doesn't stick around. When it goes from 7 to minus 16 Celsius, that 23-degree swing in a day and a half or something really kills me, If it were just cold all the time, I might be all right. But
well, no, you would. I know. Great questions and stories all around. Kapla. Heather Narduzzi. Yeah, it was Heather. Huh? Was that the Heather?
That's Heather.
That's right. That's the same Heather. Yeah.
I remember that name. I remember the last name too. I don't.
She made an impression. She made an impression on us too. We love Heather over here.
Wonderful.
All
right, guys.
All right. Well,
all right.
Why don't we? Well, I guess there's only one thing left to say then, isn't there?
Indeed.
Live long.
End transmission.
Yeah.
Okay.